Friends, Jacob is here once again. Thank you and you and you and you and all of you for pressing play, for spending some time with me. Oh, wow, right? Every time I come on here, I got something spectacular to share with all of you. These wonderful discoveries, these interesting things that they're just so significant, I believe, spiritually speaking. It's very significant, and it just seems like they're coming one after the other, after the other, after the other. So much so that because I have another job, I work full time, I don't have as much time to do these things, so I have to come here right before I jet out to work. Oh, this is worth it, though. This is worth it. There was a major discovery. One of the artifacts, the Dixon artifacts from Khufu's pyramid in Giza, the biggest pyramid. The mysterious one, the one that's lined up with Orion's belt, the one that's smack dab in the center of the landmass, the one that has something like 2.3 million stones that are perfectly put together so that even a human hair can't fit in, the one that was lined with polished, beautiful limestone that it shined like a star and it could be seen from the moon. That one. This one. The largest structure on Earth for like 3,800 years. There were some artifacts that were found. And one of these three artifacts, they were lost, gone, forget this, 70 years. 70. We've been talking about 70 a lot, right? Because at the end of 70 years, something's gonna happen. Well, I didn't know that I was gonna learn all this stuff, but I was inspired to look deeper into it because something told me this missing artifact meant something big, and whoa does it. So buckle up, people. Welcome back to the show. Okay, so we're going to get into this really quick. 5,000-year-old piece of the Great Pyramid. They call it the Great Pyramid Puzzle. Okay, it was discovered in a cigar box. That's right, the museum. Okay, so there are these three artifacts. Okay, so back in the day, back in like 1870 something, you had Wayman Dixon, you got John Dixon, you got a bunch of people that got together because the pyramid, they were trying to uncover all the mysteries, and they found some interesting things. Now, there's a lot of mystery and a lot of suspense that is surrounded over what they discovered, because one of these, a man named Charles Piazza Smythe, he was a royal astronomer. After he was inspired to measure the Great Pyramid, and he found that the pyramid is actually kind of like a symbol for God's creation and the plan of salvation. In fact, there's a lot of people that believe that the Ark of the Covenant was housed there. There's a lot of conspiracies around this Great Pyramid, right? Because it lines up with Orion's belt perfectly. It's very strange. It points northward, true north, towards Draconis. Very strange. All of this stuff, like how did they do it? How did they do it? They had no idea. Years later, they found out that they imported the stone, and what they do is they made these rivers, and they basically used boats to get these big stones to where they were all set up. But still, people believe that it was aliens, which is interesting because that's all we're talking about lately, right? So you got these couple of people, this trio the Dixons, Maynard and John Dixon, and they go into the pyramids. Now, you know, that this is what's weird about this pyramid too, is that it has chambers. They call it the Queen's Chamber, okay? And it's strange because no other pyramid has that. So, of course, there's got to be something there. And when they go into it, there's like one door that no one's been behind. So a lot of people are thinking, what's behind the door? So they found these 3 items, okay? One of them was a granite ball. Another was this hook, these things. But they also found this piece, this plank of cedar. And so when I read this about the discovery, I don't know why, but something told me, I bet you it's a measuring rod. You know, because the first thing that came to mind was, and it was only a 5-inch piece. It wasn't like a big piece that they discovered. But it was lost over the years. But something told me it was like a ruler, right? It was a measuring rod, and I couldn't help but think of the scripture about the witnesses and where they're told to, you know, measure the temple. Revelation 11:1, I was given a reed, which also translates into staff too, by the way, as a suitable time of judgment. It was kind of like that reed that was given was about judgment. That judgment was to come. So you see, it's interesting because the two are connected. Like a measuring rod, and was told, go and measure the temple of God and the altar with its worshipers. But then it goes on to say, leave out the rest. So like the message to me was pretty clear. I was like, oh my goodness, after 70 years, you know, this measuring rod, this measuring instrument was lost. And I said, I gotta look deeper. And so I do look deeper. First thing I find is the cigar box that it was found in. Take a look at this. So of course I'm like, hey, that's gotta be some kind of secret society stuff. Look at it. So I start digging deep into these guys, into the Dixons, into Grant, and I find out they were kind of awarded some pretty big, they were like given great titles. One of the guys, they must have found something interesting. One of the guys, Dr. James Andrew Sandylands Grant, he achieved like a high reputation in Cairo as a physician, and he was later given the title Bey by the Khedive of Egypt. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it means chieftain. It was like, you know, like an elder. Now Grant, this guy Grant, it was in his little cigar box. It was one of those 3 pieces. 2 of them were still in a museum, but this other piece, it had been misplaced, right? But really it wasn't misplaced. You find out that it was hidden. It was purposely hidden in the cigar box, and it was put into another set in Aberdeen, different museum. It was classified the wrong way. So here you have this lady who's going through, and she finds this thing, and she's like, what is this interesting box? And she finds out it's the missing piece. So after 5,000 years, the measuring rod, the measuring reed, made of, get this, cedar, very strong symbol, right? Symbol of God's strength, is now discovered. And then it comes to me. And then I'm like, oh, it's a measuring rod, isn't it? And I find out it is. And then I look at the cigar box and I see 1637. I go, there's got to be something with that date. Turns out there was a terrible massacre in 1637. It was called the Mystic Massacre, the Pequot Massacre. But also, 1637, the Teutonic Knights, like the Knights of Templar and all there, they like made their parting from the church. I don't know if that means anything, but I still find it interesting. So now Grant and the Dixons, right? They have this other friend, this guy Charles Piazza Smythe. They have this common acquaintance who's very interested in Khufu's, tomb. Very interested. Wanted to take measurements of it because he believed that it was like Noah's Ark. Yeah, that's what he believed. He believed it was Noah's Ark. He believed that it was built to honor God, that this was the stone that was set up so that it would be a testament and a testimony, and that he also believed that the way the chambers were laid out, that it spoke of a coming judgment, which now we have the measuring rod that's used in the construction of it. These three, this hook, this ball, and this cedar measuring rod, they were left. And then the measuring rod was hidden for 70 years. Now, why is this interesting, you say? So Piazza Smythe thinks that this is the Ark of the Covenant, and I go down this whole interesting bunny trail to find all of this stuff out. And sure, I mean, this guy was so convinced that the pyramid had something to do with Christ that his tombstone was a pyramid with a cross on it. Yeah. In short, Piazza Smythe noticed a mathematical coincidence that became transformed into an identity, and from there arose the idea that the Ark rested in the pyramid, in the general or coffer in particular. All this because no one bothered to check what he really said, and because this guy was very renowned. He wasn't some chooch or some lunatic. He was somebody that like came up with measurements and time, and he actually put like the time clock above something important. Now this is from Smithsonian Magazine about this guy Smythe. Charles Piazza Smythe, the astronomer for the Royal for Scotland, became convinced that the pyramid had been built not by the Egyptians, but by the Old Testament patriarch Noah under divine guidance, which would explain why it was so perfect. I mean, is the pyramid, is that what it is? I don't know. And their monoliths are popping up everywhere. Let me read you something that I think was very, this is from Isaiah 23. This is about the, so after 70 years, they discover this measuring rod. And I want to read this to you because, of course, besides the witnesses, I was given a reed, like a measuring rod to go measure the temple. Besides all that, to find out who's of God, who's not of God, besides all that, Isaiah 23, there's a prophecy, and it's against Tyre. Okay? Tyre. It's a big deal. Let me read this out to you. Connects to today. And for those of you that I've been telling you for so long, it's going to be bad for a lot of people, right? Woe to the inhabitants of the earth. But those that serve God, those that are seeking God, those that are doing the will of God, everything's going to be okay. It's going to be better than okay. So just hang in there. We're going to be saved out of this time of trouble. Remember, he stretched out his hand over the sea. He shook the kingdoms. The Lord hath given a commandment against that merchant city to destroy the strongholds thereof. Howl, you ships of Tarshish, for your strength is laid waste. It shall come to pass in that day, this is the big one, that Tyre shall be forgotten 70 years, according to the days of one king. After the end of 70 years, shall Tyre sing as a harlot? Take a harp, go about the city. You harlot, you've been forgotten. Make sweet melody, sing many songs, that you may be remembered. And it shall come to pass after the end of those 70 years where you're partying and you're having a good old time, saying, look at us, oh, everything's so great. At the end of those 70 years, you know what happens? The Lord will visit Tyre, and she shall turn to her hire. Everybody that's hired by the beast system, everybody that's partying by the beast system, and shall commit fornication with all the kingdoms of the world upon the face of the earth, becomes a world beast system. And what is God going to do? And her merchandise and her hire shall be holiness to the Lord. It shall not be treasured nor laid up, for her merchandise shall be for them that dwell before the Lord, to eat sufficiently, and for durable clothing. Behold, the Lord makes the earth empty and makes it waste, and turns it upside down and scatters abroad the inhabitants. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with the master, as with the maid, so with the mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for the Lord hath spoken this word. Not going to be a good time, but it's going to work out in the end, especially for those that seek God. So, ask for the truth no matter what the cost, say a prayer, and hopefully the Lord will set you straight. And I don't know if the Great Pyramid is Noah's Ark, but I do know that the measuring rod that was lost for 70 years is now found again. And I think that the day that we're in is going to be one of those days where you're going to see this system. It's going to get harder and harder for them to lock it all down. But I do know that those that serve the Lord, even though it's going to be a hard, arduous journey, don't give up on your faith no matter what. Don't give up, don't give in, because the reward is going to be great. I promise you that. I love each and every one of you. I hope you do subscribe, share, tell your friends. Have the best day ever. Thank you to all of my patrons. Thank you very much for all that you do. And for those that are, have just recently signed up, I'm going to get you a copy of my ebook to say thanks, and thank you for sharing. And don't forget, commenting is the big deal now. So leave a comment, even if it's just I commented. It means a lot to me, and I try to say something back. Get ready for the great conjunction. Who knows? Conjunction junction, what's your function? I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Jacob Israel. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and share this channel around. If these shows have helped you, help Jacob to reach more any way you can, and have the best day ever.